I literally just assumed that animal testing, in the cosmetics industry anyway, was a thing of the dark ages, a thing of the past. And I felt that it was this like dark, ugly secret that was being hidden by the beauty industry, because when I delved further into it, I realized there was a lot of marketing language covering up the truth.
You've got the title of cruelty-free and vegan, and that's a conscious decision that you've made yourself to be, even though you do everything. You've been in the industry for quite a long time, and you're in a very prominent position where you do film, TV, but mainly celebrities, red carpet, working really high-end clients. And it's such a lovely thing that you've introduced the cruelty-free, because I feel like it's passing and it's growing and people are getting to know about it more, and it's becoming a big thing, and you were an early adopter for this. So just tell me why, as a maker, we'll go back into how you got into it, but why have you consciously done that? Obviously,
I think what happened was, so it was about 2012, and I've always been interested in the more kind of like natural side of beauty. I mean, all sides of beauty, but I was very, very interested in using natural ingredients. And so I did a course on how to make your own natural cosmetics. And this course was taught by a brilliant biochemist. And part of the course was how to read labels. And she was going through all the different symbols that you can find on the back of products. And then she came up with the leaping bunny symbol and explained that that was to notify the consumer that this product was not tested on animals.
Yeah.
And I was like, excuse me, what do you mean not tested on animals? Surely nothing's tested on animals now. And when I was 18, I went on anti-vivisection marches, and I literally just assumed that animal testing, in the cosmetics industry anyway, was a thing of the dark ages, a thing of the past. And I almost didn't quite believe what she was saying. And she said, go home and research it. And I did. And the bottom fell out of my world, so to speak. I had no idea. And I thought to myself, well, if I don't have any idea, and I'm an industry professional and an animal lover, how is anyone else going to have know about this? And I started asking friends, I started asking other industry colleagues, and nobody knew. And I felt that it was this like dark, ugly secret that was being hidden by the beauty industry, because when I delved further into it, I realized there was a lot of marketing language covering up the truth. And so I really just felt that I felt very passionate about making a stand. And I am somebody that I like to live my life and have values where I can sleep peacefully at night. And it was just, then once and you've seen the imagery, there's no going back. And I just felt that there needed to be awareness out there, and somebody had to do it. So I thought, well, I need to do this. I need to kind of show people sort of the truth and talk about it, make it an open conversation, because I'm sure, I was always convinced, I think we have a brilliant industry full of wonderful people. And I was pretty convinced that the brands weren't, wanting to test on animals, but maybe, consumer pressure and industry pressure would change things and stop those laws being in place. So that's something that I just sort of was, that then became my kind of, I felt my role in the industry really was to highlight this awareness, to, not to dictate to anybody what they should or shouldn't do, but just so people can make an informed choice, for themselves.
It's quite normal now, don't you think? Like, where people do know the difference if it is vegan or cruelty-free or natural. And, I've had a client before that requested, only use natural products or vegan products. I went, okay, no problem. Obviously I had to go through a list to double make sure, because not everything has the bunny sign or says it, you know, but you sort of,
This is true.
especially like the
Brands have
old
to,
brand. Yeah, now they do.
brands have to pay for certification as well.
I see.
So not all brands want to make that decision. So if they don't have the symbols on the back and the certification, it doesn't necessarily mean they aren't cruelty free. You know, so in that case, it's important to really, you know, do your own research.
And ask.
But also, I came across, I had my first kind of red carpet event when I was now sort of, you know, I'd identified myself as a cruelty-free makeup artist, and my first sort of red carpet event came up, and I was like, I'm gonna, you know, I'm doing this as a cruelty-free red carpet, and I chose a couple of brands that were on their website, said all the right things, and then afterwards I realized that they weren't certified by anybody. So I did the red carpet event, a magazine sort of covered the piece. I did my, you know, because I'd started to write a lot of articles, trying to get places to take them. Just as a little aside from that, I'll go back to the red carpet event in a second, but I'd started to sort of try and spread awareness by writing articles and things like that. And but of course, magazines, a lot of them wouldn't take them because they didn't want to upset their advertisers. So this was before kind of the internet really exploded with blogs and things like this. I wrote a few articles on the Huffington Post and things like that, and the Sunday supplements, and some online blogs. But you know, there was that to contend with. You know, the magazines were like, at the time anyway, were like, oh, we can't upset the advertisers. And if you have a very big beauty brand advertising that aren't cruelty free, you know, they're not going to want to sort of upset the apple cart, so to speak. So anyway, back to the red carpet event, and this magazine did do a piece on it, and then these two particular brands, I realized afterwards, I was like, oh, they're not certified by Leaping Bunny or Peter, so I messaged them and I said, oh, you know, we need to, you know, you're not certified, you know, is there a reason for that? And they were like, oh yeah, we don't have the resources to do anything like that at the moment. So I was like, okay. I said, well, I'll offer you my services for free. I'll do all of the paperwork, I'll do all of the, you know, I'll be the middleman in between you both, because I was like, I really want to be able to get the right brand certified, so people know. It's easier then for consumers and for makeup artists to sort of know what brands are cruelty free. And this kind of wall came down. I was basically ghosted. And I was like, oh wow, this I did not expect. I spoke to Peter at the time, and I was like very confused, and I spoke to them about it, and they said, oh yeah, basically if they're not genuinely cruelty free, they don't want anybody meddling in the business. They just want to kind of, they put their kind of statement on their website: we don't test on animals, we don't pay a third party, we don't do this, we don't do that, we don't do that. And then the last 4 words at the end: unless required by law. And that negates everything that they've said. And so it was a hard lesson to learn. But then I realized that actually you can't just take what a brand says, because I'm not saying that every brand is out there to deceive. But sometimes they don't really know themselves about their supply chain of their ingredients and their manufacturing supplies. They don't actually know. So you really do have to do your research if they're not certified, because the certifications are really useful because they do all the auditing for you.
So it means it's 100% if they've got the certification.
Yes. So that, and then the law changed in 2013, and the EU banned any testing happening within the EU. So that was a big, huge step, a big, huge milestone. But of course, brands were still testing in other countries. Yeah.
I think that's why you have to Google that list. But you, in your book, you've done this list, this new book. Tell me about this book. Is it all about obviously sustainability, but is it?
Yeah, it's called Sustainable Beauty. And it's basically, I'd had this idea of, because obviously, you know, I want to help other people be as ethical as possible as much as I can, but I only have a certain amount of time in the day. So answering questions and things is really enjoyable, but really time consuming. So I'd had this idea just to sort of put my knowledge, because, you know, years and years of research. And I thought, if I can just put that down somewhere, then that's accessible to other people to then begin their own journey. And but I had sort of that imposter syndrome thing of, you know, oh, I can't really do that, you know, what, I can't do that. And then literally a publisher came to me and said, would you write this book for us? And I thought, well, okay, the universe is telling me, look, you've got to do this now, you know, there's no hiding. So and so I did. And it's probably the hardest thing I've ever done, but obviously very, very rewarding. And I've just written the reprint, because obviously things change, and I've read some of it and think to myself, I was obviously really tired when I wrote that part. I could definitely make that read better. So I've rewritten a lot of it and updated it. And so the second reprint is out soon. And it's basically there for people who do want to make more ethical choices, and don't really know what to do or how to start. So it's for consumers. It's also for other makeup artists if they want to start their journey in being a bit more ethical, and for brands as well to kind of know really what, you know, for them to have an idea of what to look at, because, you know, sustainability is a very overused word, and anyone can say they're sustainable now, but hopefully in the book I try to break it down to what it actually means. And obviously it means different things to different people. I've yet to come across many brands that tick all the boxes. So really? I think you have to sort of really look at what's important to you. I mean, most people, when you say to them sustainability, they think of packaging, but
that's the first
packaging
thing
it's the first thing you think of, but really packaging is just the tip of the iceberg, because you may, you know, you could argue, are you really a sustainable brand if you have really, you know, recyclable packaging, but you don't pay your workers a fair living wage, you know, or, you know, your waste management is horrific, or you cause a lot of aquatic damage with your products, you know. So there's so much to think about, really. And hopefully the book gives an idea of what sustainability actually means and what you can do as an individual to, you know, make a change, because it's all about individuals making even small changes, because as we know, you know, that one person, you think you can't make a difference, but if everybody thought like that, nothing would change. So,
and are you finding that it's affecting your work at all with your clients, or are they just like wanting to learn more, they're happy about it, or are there people that just definitely just want to, because I'm not saying that you're like, oh, you know, brainwashing everyone, but you're just doing your thing. Does it restrict you what your work is? Or
I would say that all of my clients have been really supportive. You know, they all are very interested in what I'm doing. And as I say, I never push my morals or my ethics on views on people. But if they ask, I will explain, I'll tell them. And I think that, so everybody's been really supportive, which is lovely. I think personally, obviously, I have had my moments of struggle. I've lost my mojo at times, I feel, because I don't use the big brands that other makeup artists use. So I've got to find, and I'm still having to make people look good on red carpets, do front covers of magazines. So I have to find those textures, those colors, those brands else, you know, I have to find them elsewhere. So there's a lot of research involved. You know, I mix up a lot of my own still pigments and things, just because I struggle to find certain things. So a lot of it is a bit of alchemy. I mean, it's definitely 1,000,000% better than it was 10 years ago.
Oh no, definitely. Because when I had to curate my kit, and you know, I had clients where it was just completely vegan, cruelty-free, you know, I delved into everything, and I had to double check all the products I was using was 100% vegan. You know, I was pleasantly surprised actually how much I had in there. So it not like from back in the days when we were only using Body Shop or a few, or
Exactly.
mineral
Yeah.
makeup and stuff. So it has come a long way.
It's definitely come a long way, but I find sort of oftentimes I hit a brick wall in terms of I'll find a great cruelty-free and vegan brand or product, but the packaging is really bad, or it will be a really lovely natural and organic product, but it's not vegan. So because obviously they are different, you know, people tend to sort of think, that's another thing I sort of do have in the book, is what different terminology is and what it actually means. Like, what does vegan actually mean? What does organic actually mean? And the differences. So as I was saying, you know, it's really hard to find things that sort of tick everything. You know, there are brands out there, luxury brands that, you know, are cruelty-free and vegan, and that's amazing. But I'm like, the ingredients or the packaging or so there's always compromise. There's always some sort of compromise somewhere. You know, I do the best I can, but it could be better.
So, you know, I love all that, but the sustainable, cruelty-free. Just going back now, diving into your career. You know, you're more film based, and you know, I just want to know, like,
I used to be. I haven't done a film for like oh God. So the last film I did was probably in like 2001. So for the last like over 20 odd years, I've been more sort of, I mean, I don't like the word celebrity, but I don't know what else to use. So more celebrity based. But we met, obviously we met because we were both a judge for the BAFTA hair and makeup craft award a few years ago. But I have, so I started off in film. That was I did a prosthetics degree.
Oh, prosthetics.
So I started off doing prosthetics and film, and I did that for a few years. And then I did a really difficult film, which filmed away. And I came back from that going, I'm not feeling this anymore. And then the next film I got asked to do, I just in my gut was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go. I don't want to do it.
What was it about?
Well, I mean, this film I did was, we had 3 months in Romania, and it was a big sort of Miramax film. I probably can't name any names. I don't want to get sued by anyone. And it was a war film, and they were using the National Service Army in Romania, but they weren't getting paid properly or fed properly. So these chaps were not happy, and it just was a very, very difficult experience. And it was a brutal 3 months, and the army wouldn't let the chaps eat unless they were completely sort of de-rigged. So they'd have the prosthetics on, wigs, everything, and then we'd have to take it all off so they could have their lunch, and then afterwards we'd have to put it all back on again. And our days were long. It was 6-day weeks. I mean, I'd done films before that I loved. I worked on a film called Velvet Goldmine, which was all about glam rock, and you know, that was just I was in my element. But this film was it was really tough, and I came back just not feeling it. So I was like, I think I have to pivot my career here. And just at that time, I had an opportunity to go into more light entertainment. So a really good friend of mine, Patricia O'Neill, she'd said, I've got this show's come in called X Factor. I don't know if you want to, because I'd said to her, I need to like find something else. I just can't do film anymore. And she was like, why don't you, come and help me out on that? So obviously that then started me doing light entertainment. And
who did you look after on X Factor? Was it just like the singers or the judges or presenters?
So the first series I was looking after, so my friend, so Patsy looked after Sharon Osbourne, so I was doing the Sharon Osbourne team of artists.
Oh, okay.
And and then I started doing the Extra Factor, which is a spin-off show. So I'd do the singers and then I'd do this spin-off show. And that's where I met Ben Shepherd. That's where I met Fern Cotton. So I then became their makeup artist, and then whatever they were going on to do, I would go with them. So that's how my sort of like TV, I suppose, career started. And then I suppose again it pivoted probably about 8 years ago. Again, it's funny how it all happens, but again, I sort of then started to meet more publicists and actresses, and I was really loving doing more editorial shoots, doing more red carpet shoots. And as you know, it's red carpet clients. And as you know, Lan, it's the industry can be quite pigeonhole. You can pigeonhole-y isn't a word, but it can be quite pigeonhole-y. So I found that when I was doing more television, I wouldn't get, say with Fern, I wouldn't get her editorial shoots because they saw me as a TV makeup artist, as opposed to an editorial makeup artist. And at the time I didn't quite understand it, but now I am the other side. I can see the difference in subtle differences, but there is a difference. And so then I kind of literally, the TV work fell away for one reason and another. And then I suppose the last 8 years or so, it's just been editorial, celebrity work, red carpet work, press junkets, and I love it. I think that's it for me now. I think I've tried everything.
You've tried everything. And are you doing it all by yourself, or have you got an agent? Who's been your sort of mentor or helped you to do what you've, because I mean, you keep reinventing yourself in the different arenas, right?
Well, I've never had an agent. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. When I started off in film, at that time, you didn't have agents in that world. Agents were more sort of for fashion, makeup artists, and I think it's different now, but at the time you didn't. So I was never used to working with an agent, and I've toyed with the idea. I've been in to see agents, especially now doing more sort of working more with actresses. It's it's something that most people do, but I have a PA, a lovely woman called Michelle, who basically does all of my paperwork and my invoicing and everything. And we've sort of been working together for 10 years. And I just think that I'm probably a bit too controlling to have an agent. I kind of like to know every detail of what I'm doing. I like to talk to people myself, and I like to ask questions. And also the money side of things and negotiating, that doesn't really bother me, because I used to work in the city. I was a stockbroker before I was a makeup artist.
A stockbroker?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you actually learn makeup then from being a stockbroker? Let's rewind, please.
Okay, rewind. So I'd always wanted to be a makeup artist ever since I was about 17, but I didn't know any other makeup artists, and I didn't know anybody in the industry. So it was just something that was a bit of a sort of dream, really. And then I sort of went traveling, as you do when you're a teenager, and I came back, got a job in the city in this investment company, and I just worked my way up. And they obviously saw something in me, and I ended up being the private client, the dealer for the private client department in a big investment company. And I was very good at it. And so I did that for 8 years, and I always knew it wasn't in my heart and I wanted to do something else, but I still at this moment didn't know how to go about it. And I think I was scared of failure, because it was my dream. And I think I felt if I tried my dream and it didn't work, what would I do? Where would I go? I'd be crestfallen, there was no plan B. That's all I wanted to do, really. And so I think it was the day where that changed, and it was almost like the fear of not trying was worse than the fear of failing. And I thought, if I don't try, I'm going to be here forever. And it was a very, very good job. It just wasn't something that filled my soul. So I I went down to part-time and told them I was leaving. I went down to part-time because they asked me to train up my successor. And I did a part-time course at the London College of Fashion. First of all, I tried to get into the degree course, which was prosthetics, wigs, everything. And I didn't get in the first time. And I'd tried everything. I did life drawing courses because they needed an art portfolio. So I did sculpting classes, life drawing classes, fine art classes. Like literally every hour of every day, I was doing a class to build up this portfolio to apply for this course. And I did all of that and I didn't get in. So I was like, oh, what am I going to do? But there was this fashion makeup course, which was a part-time course, and it fitted in perfectly with the hours that I would need to do in the city to train up my successor. So that's what I did. So I did that part-time course. And actually, I think to this day, there was a brilliant tutor on that course. And I think I probably learned more on that course. Well, it's different, isn't it? It's different makeup. But I had so much fun, and I would say I probably didn't learn more, but I loved that course more than the 3-year degree course that I then went on to do after that. And so, but while I was doing the degree course, I started working. So I met 2 people, two makeup artists, Patricia O'Neill and Lindsay Bowen, and they were very, very instrumental in kind of taking me under their wing, and I assisted them. And a friend of mine, James O'Brien, was a producer at MTV, and he was like, come and do the MTV Awards. And I assisted Patricia, Lindsay, and the lovely Liz Pugh. She was doing the awards. And after that, Patsy and Lindsay just used to give me their work that they couldn't do at MTV. So then all of a sudden I was in MTV doing band makeup, presenters that came through. And this was before I hadn't trained. This was before I'd even trained. So at one point I was in my part-time job in the city. I was doing jobs at MTV, and I was doing my part-time course at London College of Fashion. And those were great times because it was just so much fun. MTV back in the day was a great place to work. And then obviously things got a bit more intense when I went off to do the degree. But I met a wonderful makeup artist called Nikita Ray. I bumped into all these stories you see. I think you just have to take opportunities, don't you, when they come about. So do you remember the department store Dickens and Jones?
Oh yeah, Dickens and Jones.
I used to love Dickens and Jones because nobody was ever in there.
Phoenix and
thought them amazing. Like all these beauty calls that nobody really knew about. It was always quiet in there, so I loved it in there. And I remember chatting to a guy at the time. I was also going after work in the city. I was then the Royal Shakespeare Company was just over the road at the Barbican, and I used to go after work and help out there in the wig and makeup department. I used to volunteer for them, helping them with backstage changes, and they taught me a lot there. And then when I was in Dickens and Jones one day in the beauty hall, I met a guy who was working behind the counter, and he knew a lot about beauty, more than you would imagine somebody that worked in Dickens and Jones would. And I happened to mention, I said, you really know your stuff. He said, oh, my girlfriend's a makeup artist. I was like, oh, what does she do? And we were chatting, and he was like, she works on films. I was like, amazing. We had a really great chat. I left Dickens and Jones just as they were closing, and I thought, I'm going to give him my number just in case his girlfriend ever needs like an assistant or anything. So I ran back in. I said, I hope you don't think I'm being presumptuous. Here's my details. Anyway, literally a couple of days later, Nikita calls me and says, what are you doing next week? I'm on this movie. Do you want to come and be our sort of trainee? And I had to pull a sickie from my job in the city because I couldn't get I think I took some holiday and pulled a sickie and got 2 weeks off and just was on film set. So 1 minute I'm up in the city not knowing what to do, and the next minute I'm on a film set with Peter O'Toole, film starring Peter O'Toole and Harvey Keitel, and I was just like, wow, this is incredible. So she really really gave me. So I would say Patsy, Lindsay, Nikita really gave me my sort of first opportunities, and then it's just like a domino effect, isn't it? You meet other people, you meet other makeup artists, they need people, and it just kind of grows.
That's what I love about like your journeys, because you've gone with your gut, you've chosen your opportunities, and you've just taken them. And that whole emphasis of like, you just never know what's going to happen. And now I can see, hence the glow that you always have. You're always so happy. And I feel like you do take those chances, which is really nice. And
you have to, I think, Lam, with everything in life, I think you have to sort of, I think, don't be shy about it, because the worst somebody can say is no.
Yeah. So what would you tell your younger self then, if any assistants or potential artists looking up to you, what sort of advice would you, or I would say that you would have liked to have known, or someone told you?
Oh, just don't give up, I think, because it's a hard industry. It's hard to get into. I would say don't give up, and, be nice, be kind to everybody, because, that karma will come back and, and hit you. And don't overthink things. Don't worry, just do your thing. And also be yourself. Don't try and be somebody else. I think be true to who you are. There's a lovely saying that I like, which is don't dim your light for anybody, find the people that fan your flame. And I think, that's the key, is just be really true to who you are. Don't veer away from that. Be good to everybody. I know that some people say, you've got to be quite hard to be in our industry, and hard-nosed, but
you're you. I'm me. Everyone's everyone.
I'm such a softie. I could never be, a tough. I mean, I could be a tough nut.
Well, do you know what? You rock around with your red lips and your headband and your very slick look. I don't know. It's only when you open your mouth, like, oh, she's so sweet.
Do you think there's a tough nut behind there, Lan?
Oh yeah, there's definitely a tough nut there, because you wouldn't be doing what you're doing, because like from your journey, you can see you took very practical steps, to get where you were. It wasn't like, oh, you weren't here saying like, I fancy doing this or that. You actually had to, I could tell that you were thinking about it, and then you just went for your gut, and it pushed you at the edge to do it. But you did it, for long periods of time. It wasn't like you were filtering around. You did it until it was enough.
No, it's a lot of hard work. Years of hard work.
A lot of hard work, yeah.
And I would also say that to other people as well. It's like, be patient and persevere. Like, it took me sort of 5 or 6 years to really start to become established. I know it happens a lot quicker for some people, especially now. When I started out, there was no Instagram, there was no social media, so people can have a lot, exposure a lot quicker now, which has, I think, its pros and its cons. But back then there was none of it. So you did just have to graft. You really did. And I also think that sort of, maybe that little bit of control nature I had, which makes me feel that I wouldn't suit having an agent. Maybe I would. Maybe it needs the right person.
Haven't met the right one.
Maybe. I mean, but every time I've had sort of a meeting, it's never quite felt right. And as I say, I have lovely Michelle that does all of my kind of, all the hard stuff, really, all the paperwork and the chasing up of invoicing and things like that.
I often think it's just a bonus when you have an agent. It's just other people that champion you, and it's with me and mine, it's just like a partnership. It's like management. So I still like work with other people, but it's just the freedom to do what you like. So
exactly, that's what you need. You need that.
You are in control, but you can still draft other people to help you.
Yes.
I just want to thank you for your time, but just want to ask, you wear red lips. So what's your relationship with makeup personally? Because people often say, you're a makeup artist, but you don't wear much makeup. I tend to wear a lot sometimes, but then pandemic, I don't. But it's a whole confidence thing. And it's only when my skin got really good that I had the confidence not to wear a lot of makeup. So what is your vibe?
I mean, obviously when I was younger, I used to spend a lot of time, experimenting and doing different looks. I mean, when I was a teenager, I was a goth, so obviously I kind of was into my makeup. But as an adult, as an adult, I don't want to spend a lot of time on my own makeup. I don't know if that is because I love spending a lot of time doing other people's makeup, that I don't know what it is. I just like a very, very quick, easy routine.
Yeah.
So I try and take care of my skin because I don't want to wear a heavy foundation. And I just think red lipstick, I've always loved anything, vintage clothes, vintage makeup. I'm, very, very interested in vintage looks, and red lipstick is very synonymous with that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the clothes I wear, it just goes with it.
Goes with the
And
red lips, yeah.
it cheers me up.
Oh.
Like putting on my red lipstick makes me smile. I love the color. I love the vibrancy, and it just feels like it's me. And it makes me be able to do my makeup in like a couple of minutes and still look like I've made a bit of an effort. So it's kind of like the thing that's like, I've made an effort, look everyone, but it's actually taken me 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's true, but that's you, the professional. So
exactly. So I remember the first time I ever wore red lipstick before midday, I thought, who the hell do I think I am? And now it's like even if I've got a 4 a.m. call time, I'm like, yeah, that's going on.
Oh, that's amazing.
It gets me out the door, Lan. It gets me out the door.
Well, see, I just want to thank you so much because we're running out of time, and I know you're in a hotel. Thank you so much for giving up your evening, and
thanks for having
me. I really enjoy
Lan.
getting to know you on here. So hopefully I get to see you soon. You're going to come and visit.
I hope to get to see you soon. We should do this again.
Yes,